University of Nigeria, my alma mater. Hail and rejoice for the same. I am here to represent the Commissioner of Police Enugu State Command, a man that I know was very much prepared to be here with us, to be very honest. In fact, the invitation, he was the one that sent it to me. Even before any other person could call me, himself had sent and said, let's get something ready for this particular event. Because he's one man that doesn't play with security. He's a man that is grounded in security, operationally, administratively, investigation-wise. Somebody that have seen it all as far as policing and security generally is concerned in Nigeria. I know the choice of inviting him and giving him a topic to come and present is not by chance, not just because he's a commissioner of police, but both because he's somebody I believe very strongly has the know-how to communicate some of those things. There's always by no means that one will be closing a chapter on any subject. He's always open to discussion. He's open to several debates. It's on that note that I want to very humbly once again say good afternoon. My name is Daniel Enugu. I'm a superintendent of police, and by the grace of God, I'm the one that does the talking for police in Enugu State. At least for now, I need to talk. If they take the microphone from me, I'll stop talking. And very interestingly, the city, like I said, would have loved to be here, but something came up. They will say Igbo language, na any carrying in spite of all of the preparations, the heart with which he wanted to be part of this event, eventually along the line he couldn't make it. So he sent his regret, and he also felt that if there was anybody you could send to come here, then that person should have been somebody who has a little bit of so much of this school in his blood. I am so elated to stand here and I'm talking to an audience. About 15 years ago, I was in this school. I've not stopped being part of this school. I've had my BSc, I've completed my MSc, I'm pursuing my PhD in the University of Nigeria. So you see, if there's anybody that is so lauded, let me use that word, to have represented the Commissioner of Police, I don't think it's that maybe one less than my very humble self. So I'm very happy to be here, and the SUG president is here. Challenge your students. While I was there, I used to ensure that any program the school organized, I came to this hall. Either I sit somewhere, if I find space, anywhere I will park. And I'll be taking notes. And I know part of this training, part of the things I underwent here, what is building my kind of person, and several of us who have been through here. So for those that are students, take your time, your studies in this place very seriously. You never know when you could be someone occupying an office like I am doing today, will be asked, this will be seated and others, and you have the opportunity to talk to an audience. Once again, that's just on the lighter mood. Good afternoon once again, and then I'm happy to be here. Like you've been told, the city had the mandate of presenting a paper on the topic scientific and innovative approaches to effective security operations in small areas. But when we are talking about small area, it's important we limit it somewhere, and where we are is actually a small area, whether we like it or not. The University of Nigeria is a community on its own, a community that embodies every other thing you can think of in a larger community. So it's a small area. So rather than just limit it to a small area, the city has decided to have its focus on the University of Nigeria when we're having this particular program. In the course of trying to prepare for this presentation, we discovered that the university, just the students only, we have about 50,000 students here, except they are in the university put together, except the data at our disposal is not accurate. And that is just for students. We've not talked about staff, we've not talked about visitors, we've not talked about businesses that are existing here. And what that simply means is that the business of public security and safety in a space such as this, though small, must be such that should replicate every other effort you want to put on a larger scale. So if there's a governor we have this time that is very innovative, that is very digital in the person of Dr. Peter Ndubuisinger, who is remembering and understanding that someone said there, and I agree very correctly with the person, that security is big business, it's capital intensive, it's something that requires not just physical strength, but something that requires a measure of innovation, technological equipment to ensure that it works. If he's thinking about it at that larger scale, bearing in mind, like someone also said, that here is a microcosm of the macrocosm of the entire nation or larger environment, it also means that there should be a touch of one of that innovation found within this space. So when you're talking about scientific and, as a matter of fact, innovation in managing security operation in a small environment such as the University of Nigeria, you are reawakening the consciousness that you are dealing with an environment that is becoming complex by the day, one that is densely populated. You don't need to measure with the population of the entire local government or Enugu state, but if you have within this given space, you have just for students 50,000 estimated by way of estimation. And then you also have staff, both academic and non-academic staff. You have businesses all around every corner of the school. You have visitors who come here on a daily basis. What that simply means is that you need to up your game. In fact, in the course of this study, the visitor and the chairman, we realize that, and we agree, even those of us who have a direct charge to provide security, that the complexity of contemporary times in terms of security, the complicatedness, so to speak, is such that the traditional method of policing, the traditional method of providing security is becoming increasingly insufficient. What that simply means, somebody was talking about manpower. I don't think it's all about manpower. In fact, if you have, we talk about the 80-20 Pareto's rule. If you have, I'm just going to align with this. If you have 20 hands that are very good and capable, you support them with some equipment, I bet you they will give you results 80 hands will not give to you. And that borders on one thing: innovation, applying science to the business of security in a small environment such as this. In fact, I'm here, thank God the VC came in my mind. I'm a student of this very institution. I've not stopped studying. I'm still part of us. I wanted to throw a challenge, because when we talk about some of these things being capital intensive, you need to spend so much money. I don't know if any of us have ever visited the command and control center developed, established by the governor. I mean, if you go there, you know that security no be rice and stew. You need plenty money to have it achieved. But be that as it may, the hands we have, we need to begin to equip them properly. We need to begin to equip them properly. So I believe by way of this presentation is that the traditional means of policing, of ensuring security, whether in a small or larger space, is becoming increasingly insufficient. And what that simply means, we need to begin to migrate from just a traditional method of foot patrol. Fine, we've been bought and equipped with motorbikes. I saw it out there, and I believe it's for UNN security. I mean, clap for yourself. That is a wonderful one. And I know this will not have been possible if not for the kind of person you have currently as the Vice Chancellor. Can you please clap to encourage the VC? So that being the case, we believe very strongly that this topic is apt. Integrating science, integrating technology in the policing or security architecture of UNN is one that can never be overemphasized. We have a case in hand. I'm going to say a few things. I just have 10 or thereabout minutes to leave here, and I don't need to extend it beyond that. I'm skipping one of my lecture materials. Maybe I will share it. Those that will lay hand on it, you can read up very well. There's clarification of terms, but I'm not going to talk about that. We have theoretical foundations that was supposed to be laid, but for want of time, I'm going to just go through them and be a little bit more practical. I want to give instances. I don't just want to tell you technology, where it works and how it doesn't work. I want to be as practical as possible. Now, when we talk about innovation, naturally what you want to begin to think of, which I know have been highlighted, we begin to put in place closed circuit television, CCTV cameras, We begin to deploy artificial intelligence, which is a summation of all of this. We begin to ensure that our personnel are properly equipped. And I'm happy, as a matter of fact, that the SUG president is here. Because I think a bulk of the gap is such you could feel. Quote me. A bulk of the gap in the policing or security of a small environment like UNN is such that you have a huge responsibility to ensure that it's filled. I know within the SUG ranks, you have something known as a CSO. I don't know if you have. If you don't, those in SUG, a CSO, in fact, organizes security program and invites me. If you don't have one, create one. It's a challenge I'm throwing at you right now. Now, we have a few theory to help us understand why scientific and innovative approaches are very important in ensuring security within an environment like this. The first theory we came up with is a theory known as RAT, R-A-T. RAT simply means routine activity theory. Routine activity theory was a theory developed by two scholars, Lawrence Cohen and Marcus Felsey. Their developing this theory was for them to explain crime rate changes in the United States in the period between 1947 and 1974. Now, this theory believes that for crime to happen, three things must play out. What we refer to as elements that must meet together. There must be three convergence. Those three convergences include one, a motivated offender. Nobody commits crime until there's something motivating that person, true of us. If not, there will be no crime. No matter the circumstance, somebody committing crime must be motivated. So the first element is a motivated offender. The second element is a suitable target. If you plan your crime as a criminal and there's no target that is suitable for you to perfect that crime will not happen, true of us. There must be who has decided in his mind to commit crime. There must be somebody that is available for that crime to be committed against for it to happen. And the last convergence within the RAT theory is what they refer to as the absence of capable guardianship. By capable guardianship, you're talking about capable security. You're talking about who could have stopped that crime from happening. The motivated person is on one hand, the suitable target to commit the crime is on the other hand. These two will stop at number. It will not happen if there's somebody capable enough to ensure that one, he stops who was trying to commit that crime and protect and safeguard the person the crime was to be committed against. So these three convergences determine the perpetration of crime. And as a matter of fact, in a university environment such as ours, we have student hostels. I had plenty of contribution dwelling on the fact that, let's begin to see how we can have basic biometric and using of a geographic information system by way of measuring, use FDI, stuff that will help you begin to dictate people, know who is supposed to be in the hostel and who is not supposed to be there. So you begin to see that within an environment like this where you have people, there could be somebody motivated, maybe a student who doesn't have a laptop, who has seen the opportunity to steal another student's laptop. True of us, that stealing could happen. So we have our halls or theaters where this thing happens. People can verge, people can be careless, people can drop whatever they have the way they want to drop it. There could be somebody who does not have what that person is keeping, who wants to steal it. Somewhere, somehow, crime is being perpetrated. There are walkways at night. I schooled in this university, and I beat my chest to say that all through my 4 years, when I was studying public administration in Pouch here, that was where I did my first degree. I stayed in the hostel. Franco was, I don't know where the Odin gate, I didn't go there. Yes, maybe the resources was not too there, but I enjoyed the fact that I was in the hostel. So if there's anybody to tell you so much about UNN, well, 15 or thereabout years ago, I should be one of those persons to tell you. I stayed in Njoku, Alvanikogu, and the most spectacular hostel, number Nefo. That was my starting point. It was my ending point for the 4 years I spent here. And I don't pass 4 years. I don't fail any course. And by God's grace, I had a 2-1. So please clap for me. In fact, to challenge you, I didn't stop there. Where I did my MSc VC, sir. I'm still your student, sir. Yes, I did my MSc in Institute for Development Studies, and by God's grace, I had a first class. So clap for me. And I also doing my PhD there, PhD in development studies. I major, they are confusing me because I want to major in governance and social change. But I also realize some of the specialization is conflict studies and peace building, which I focused on when I did my MSc. So I'm at loss for now. But I want to try something of governance and social change because I think it's a terrain that has not been properly explored academically. So I have better knowledge of this school, not just UNN. I have knowledge of UNEC. I have not traversed like when I was a student here. But that's to let you know that I know something about this school. So when this convergence happens, when there's a motivated offender, there's a suitable target, and there's an absence of a guardian capable enough to stop the crime from happening, what will happen is that crime will be perpetrated. But the place of innovation and the use of science is where you begin to stop some of those occurrences. Look at the number of the UNN security personnel here. I don't know, maybe you're more than this. It might not be so much of a big area, like in snow, it's a small area. It is not about your physical presence that will make the difference. You know, somebody was saying, oh, let's go away with walkie-talkie. No, please don't go away with walkie-talkie. Use it. That's my suggestion. You know why? Technology will not extend in hand and arrest somebody that has committed crime. One man will be arrest now, two of us. And the only way it can happen is that the man at point A, who may have observed or who may have known, somebody had informed that something is happening at point B. The easiest way, before you pick up your GSM to die, you just on the top, you're already hitting that person. The person is reacting. So it's part of the innovation. In fact, if you're not using it, let it be increased. The business and let more of those walkie-talkies be gotten for them. It's one of the challenges the police is facing in Enugu. Because we don't have effective walkie-talkie that can cover the length and breadth of this state. Something is happening in Ozuwane. How do you relay it probably to the area command here in Nsukka? So it's something very important. It's part of innovation. It's part of science. It's not word of mouth. It's technology that you're using now. Do we get that? So the second theory, very quickly, is also what we refer to as the situational crime prevention theory. This was introduced by Ronald Clark in 1997. This theory is closely related to the rat theory, routine activity theory, but it moved a little further. The theory is of the view that if you begin to modify the physical and social environment of a given place, you begin to reduce crime. Now, if the motivation, but if there's nothing like that, automatically it becomes very difficult to stop that crime from being perpetrated. And the last theory is the intelligence-led policing theory. This emphasizes the use of data, analysis, and intelligence to prevent crime rather than merely responding to incidents after they occur. Like I said, the traditional method is becoming increasingly insufficient. Somebody talks about response time. What's the response time to crime? It's not just about the response time. If we do not begin to put innovation, if we don't begin to use those things that could make crime fighting easy, then chances of getting the kind of result we desire will be very difficult. I'm rushing through. Sorry, I don't have all the time. Then there's something about scientific and innovative security approaches that we believe if UNN begin to put in place managing security crimes as it were in a small environment like this will become very effective. One, there's what we refer to as the intelligence-driven policing. I've mentioned that earlier. These are measures using science and innovation to tackle crime. We believe that implementing a campus-based intelligence system will enable proactive interventions. Key initiatives that we are drawing the attention of the school to begin to put in place will include one, microcrime mapping using geographic information system to identify hotspots. By geographic information system, we begin to talk about the use of technology to begin to locate persons, objects, and things that exist within a given place. If there's one of the things that have helped us in fighting crime in recent times is the use of GIS. By GIS, we are able to locate the criminal where he or she, not just when the person has committed the crime. Of course, you don't expect the criminal to commit the crime and stay there and wait for you to come and arrest the person. If you remember, the very unfortunate incident that happened within this environment. Similarly, if you remember the Praise case and Emmanuel Gambo, although the school authority came and said one of them is not their student, that's fine, but it's within the environment. So it's believed that anything happening here has a connection with UNN. The case of the young man that went to a hotel, you remember, with the girlfriend, the story came out that, oh, it was a ritual murder thing. But when I know very strongly that it wasn't a ritual murder thing, we had to debunk that, because that was purely a case of murder. They had gone to the hotel for whatever reason, he had sex, he didn't have sex, he paid, he didn't pay. It turned out the fact that somebody was going to strangle the other person. The young man strangled her and she died. And he made away with all of the girls' belongings. And as a matter of fact, when he was making entry, checking into that hotel, he gave them false information. The phone number there, the name are not his. So tell me how that would have been easy for the police to crack that crime. If not for the use of GIS, where you call it in common parlance, we say tracking, right? We're able to use intelligence, gather as much as possible. We're able to track and trail this man to a hostel where he was staying, he was arrested. In fact, the evidence was already overwhelming because of our fact and figure we presented, and through our team, he had no choice but to admit. In fact, we also have another case of a pharmacy student that was murdered in this week. I'm trying to remember the outcome of that. He was found somewhere in one water. If you can remember, that was last week. We were able to arrest some of them. I'll try to remember if all of them were arrested. The arrest was never made possible until we galvanized GIS. So if the school intends to begin to operate innovatively with the use of science, in fact, it's very easy. It's a small micro environment. In fact, there's no way the data does not exist about every student here. True of us. There's no way the staff, the personnel of this institution don't have the data that holds the identity or information about every single person. So how are we going to be doing this? When we begin to integrate it and have a functional system where I can go, but I think this book can start it, can't we? Why? Because it's a small space. It's a space where you don't even need to exert so much energy. Just get a big of biometric computer and all of that. Once you're coming as a student, your data is already in there. Full time with your brains. In fact, you can integrate it with the NIN. The person cannot come and be telling you story. I don't know if that exists, but if it doesn't, I think it's something that should be looked at to help us begin to police here better. We also believe that creating an anonymous student informal channel to encourage reporting without fear is necessary. The FCC president talked about the fact that it's galvanizing students, which by every standard is the reason why the school exists. So if you have 1 million people here, you should rest assured that 800,000 should be students, true of course. So we must begin to have an anonymous informal channel. Intelligence gathering is an easy but yet very difficult task. Somebody talking about the motivation on the part of whoever is bringing that intelligence or information. But if you have a system where somebody believes that if I give out this information about this person, whether it's a student, whether it's a staff, whether it's a visitor, automatically my identity will be protected, nobody's going to hunt me down, chances are that the high rate of reporting criminal situation will be very high. Even a roommate will report a roommate that is a criminal. True of course, because he knows that this person will not be exposed. He knows that anyway, that will dwell on center on the level of confidence and confidentiality attached to such information. So we are encouraging that there be a creation of anonymous student informal channel. You can use WhatsApp, you can use SMS, you can use email to make that possible. There's something about profiling students and people that come to this school. That should also be done to ensure that we begin to galvanize science and innovation by way of ensuring security of this place. More importantly, technology is the center and the heart of everything we do. If technology is not properly utilized, I've said this, several persons have said it, there will begin to have issues. CCTV has been mentioned with motion analytics. I'm going to tell us what happened in Enugu using the command and control center. Somebody stole, it was a car snatching incident. They snatched that car. The command and control center was able to capture that car, the incident and the scene of the occurrence. But as a matter of fact, the criminal being so smart moved that vehicle out of the radar of that particular, the cameras and all of that. So it was very difficult to locate to find that vehicle within the metropolis. But something, because there's already an existing real-time capture of that vehicle, the command and control center personnel knew that this vehicle was snatched from so place. It was used to commit so crime. So the next time that vehicle came within the coverage of the CCTV camera, they immediately alerted. I know it was our anti-kidnapping tactical squad that they alerted. And lo and behold, they arrested the man. In fact, he was driving the vehicle with his wife. They arrested him. Upon the investigation conducted, we now realize that he has a syndicate that stretched as far as Port Harcourt. In fact, a total of 5 vehicles were recovered. We recovered series of vehicle particulars and all of that. That is the capability of real-time analytics that can be provided by CCTV. So we should look at that. We should look at something of radio frequency identification. The SUG president talked about how do we begin to identify people. The ROFI is a very important tool. It's an innovation, it's scientific. If we have it, like I said, let's have a database of our students within the hostel. In fact, if the doors will be security doors, that if you're not registered to that room, you cannot even enter until somebody allows you. Tell me how that will not be possible to use science and manage security. Biometric access control, I said this earlier, data of students should be gathered